Last week, I had the privilege of working with a number of different teams across a couple of different states at all different levels. There were middle school athletes, there were high school athletes, Division I athletes. And there was a theme that I saw across all of them. It's a theme that I've known for a while because I see it in the different industries and teams that I work with. But specifically with what was interesting last week was seeing it back to back to back with similar athletes of different age groups. And it's that these young leaders in today's world they're probably more aware than you think that they are drowning in information, that they are starving for wisdom. And seeing that difference of the same issues down at a middle school and a high school level, and then seeing the same stuff manifested at the Division I level, just kind of reinforced this idea that the world's not going to teach this stuff. And if we don't teach it to them, and if we are not pouring in and developing these capabilities, the world's not going to teach it. We're deferring that risk to a time where the consequences will be more significant. Theme that I got from a lot of these different questions was that they understood and it was easy, and when things are going well, it's easy for them to do. It was when they're under pressure and they're facing the challenge and the uncertainty and the unknown, and especially the peer pressure that they have. How do they deal with this stuff now? And the problem that they're facing is that in today's society is telling them that pressure is no good. You shouldn't have to face hardship. You shouldn't have to face challenge. And if you've got people that are pushing you or demanding on you, you've got to get out of that situation immediately, because it's just going to create, you're not capable of handling that. And two, it's going to create a mental health issue for you down the road. That's just not true. It's bad guidance, and it's causing problems for us with young leaders. In fact, I think most people are far more capable than they give themselves credit for. And so as I walked through the leaders, the interesting thing about it, and it was putting them through these different events that we were doing, some of it just instruction, some of it are experiential training. There were two distinct categories that I leaned into. And one was the group, right? The people, the individual and the team that is experiencing the pressure. What does that look like? What were the lessons, that they learned through that? And it's this concept that I tried to teach them. It's, you got to control the mindset around this and the lens that you look at pressure as. And it's not a punishment. Pressure is not a punishment. Pressure is the preparation. It's what forges you into something stronger so that you can handle the things that come down your road, so that you can win your moments later in life where the pressure is even greater. And I think this concept that spanned across all of them last week was this understanding that you're going to be uncomfortable either way. Either choosing the hard and having people who are pushing you and demanding from you and pushing you harder and farther than you thought that you could go or even wanted to go. That's certainly uncomfortable. But I think it's arguably more uncomfortable to find yourself in your moment and to find yourself unprepared or unequipped to do the things that you wanted to do. And so I think in life, the lesson that spanned across all of them is that you have to choose your hard. And there's things that I think it teaches you when you are going through it. I think it teaches you the emotional control, to learn how to control your emotions or be controlled by them when you're facing pressure. I think it teaches you humility. Pressure knows no ceiling. There's always more ways that you can push things, and helping you understand that, hey, I'm not going to necessarily just be able to brute force my way through everything. It teaches the humility to take a step back and go, okay, what can I control? I can control my example, I can control my actions, and I control my attitude. And then I can hopefully control the influence that I have over some of my teammates, and just avoiding that negativity that naturally flies up when you're facing pressure. That's the number one thing that we'll see across teams, is when they face pressure, that's where the negativity starts to come up. That's where the criticisms start to come up. That's when the complaining and the defending and the recruiting other people that we shouldn't have to do this, that stuff starts to fly. And that's the fastest thing that erodes morale in team culture. Pressure teaches mental toughness. There's only one way to develop mental toughness, is to do hard things over and over and over. And that's how you start to appreciate the force, that the importance of willpower, right? And the force of will that it will take to overcome friction and uncertainty. The other aspect was the leaders that were going through it and the discomfort that they felt in pushing their teams and driving their teams and trying to explain to them that that's natural. When you are responsible for individuals and for a team and for the performance of a team and you want to get the best out of them, it means you're typically around people that you care about. And when you care about people, you don't necessarily like to watch them suffer. You don't like to watch them fail. You don't like to watch them be unhappy. You care about them. And there's a few leaders out there that aren't that way. Like they're just a hammer and that's all it is. And it's hammer, hammer, hammer. The culture takes a hit. Those are the types of people that are typically pretty insecure and they're very inexperienced from a leadership standpoint. And they drive the toxic cultures. That's not what we were talking about. This was great leaders and great teams and great staffs who were talking about the discomfort that they feel as a leader of demanding excellence constantly from their team. The mistake that they make is they start to feel and they listen and they respond to the criticism and the complaining and the negativity from their team. And so they just say, hey, never mind. And they find ways that they can give them comfort. That's problematic. It's the biggest mistake you can do because when you care about your teams and you care about your people, you need to see them great. You need to prepare them. And every time that you coddle them, every time that you protect them from the pressure and the lessons that can come from it, you rob them of the opportunity to grow. You rob them of the opportunity to learn that lesson. And so when I talk about pressure and as explaining it to these staffs, it wasn't in terms of yelling and screaming. Pressure is around the standards and the expectations. And so what I challenge them to do with their staff and as they're walking through this is you have to clearly understand, clearly define what are the behaviors that this team needs to exhibit? What are the standards that we need to uphold? And what are our expectations? Clearly define that for your team, then clearly communicate it. Make sure that it's fully understood. But once you're there, it has to be ruthlessly and relentlessly enforced 100% of the time. If it is not enforced and there's not a consequence of some type, then it's not a standard. It's a slogan. The constant, ruthless enforcement of standards is the pressure that forges great teams. And I think that this teaches us stuff too, as we sit through this and lean through, well, what does it teach a leader who is driving a staff and driving a team and they're hearing the tension and the noise? I think number one, it teaches to do it the right way. It teaches strength with compassion. It teaches you to balance toughness with care, learning how to take your team as far as they can go and take individuals as far as they can go and just ease it back just a little bit to give them the breathing room. And then you push them even farther. And you do that again and again, because I think it's about believing in someone or a team enough that you care about them enough to push them farther than they would go or that they want to go in order to extract their full potential. Secondly, I think it teaches you emotional resilience and composure. It's recognizing that when how I feel doesn't align with what I need to do. I care about my team. I don't like to see them fail. I don't like to see them unhappy. I don't like to see them frustrated and going through tough times. That's how I feel. But I know that driving this and trying to get the best out of them, that is what is in their best interest. And so it gives you this emotional resilience and the composure to stay in that fire long enough so that the lessons can be learned from the pressure. Third, I think it gives you the power of the long game. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen quickly. It's not something that can happen overnight. And sometimes the team will turn around one by one. And some, they don't even fully understand the lessons that you're trying to teach them until 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road or longer. It's the power of the long game and that you are true leaders. When we are entrusted with people into our care, it's our job to challenge them. It's our job to care for them, and it's our job to develop them for their moment, not just with me, but down the road for how they could be used as a force for good. So it teaches the power of the long game. And lastly, I think it teaches the importance of subordinating our ego as a leader. Leadership is a privilege. And it's not about you. It's never been about you, and it never will be about you. And at times we have to have that humility to be able to care for people enough to push them and plant these seeds and prepare them. And it might just be for a brief moment. And then they're off to the next team, or they're off to the next area of life. They're off to the next stage of life where somebody else and the next coach, the next teacher, the next leader now gets to do something more with them because you had prepared them and now they can go even farther. And so it's very rare, forget that saying of like being able to sit under the shade of the tree of the seed that you planted. I think that's pretty rare in leadership for this to be able to go where you're able to stay with somebody long enough where you can see them through multiple phases of life and see the good things that happen. More often than not, it's understanding that it's not about me. It's about doing the right thing by my team. But man, it'd be awesome, and rejoice in those moments when you get them with your team. Be willing to stand in that fire, because the leader who's willing to stand firm, have composure, and keep the pressure on, that is the leader that others are willing to follow back into the fire. And so as I watch this trend going across, I don't care what society's telling us. I don't care what social media or whatever your favorite influencer is telling you about pressure and that you shouldn't have to go through it and it's not going to be good for your mental health. No, it's the complete opposite. It's one of the greatest teachers, and it's going to teach you so much as a team to be able to accomplish your goals and do more than you ever thought you could, individually and as a team. But then as a leader and as a staff and as a team that's trying to drive performance out of your team, there's so many lessons in there as well. Pressure is not a punishment. It's preparation. It's forging you into someone bigger and stronger so that you can win your future moments.